I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind? Please, Lord, give me a sign, a sign. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is everybody in the world blind?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Flames Pyro Art for Beginners and Beyond. Today I just wanted to have a little brief look at noses again. I know I've touched on noses in the past, but noses are a fascinating subject and quite a tricky subject to do with our pyrography art. So I thought today we'd try and explain a little about the human nose and how we can try and develop and capture, a great looking nose with our pyrography. Now, as we can see, I've made a start on this nose. Obviously, this is just a picture of I think it was a nun off The Conjuring or something. So she was quite a scary looking woman. And she had big flary nose on her. Now what we want to do when we build a nose, it's quite a tricky subject to do, especially when it's front on like this. We have to think about those ridges and contours that build up all the peak of the nose, the flaring nostrils that come out from our face. We've got the bridge of the nose that falls away down to our cheeks. There's a whole load of things going on with the human nose. I'm using a medium spoon shader today, and my heat setting is around just over 3. So it's a medium heat for this pen. What I've started off doing is just some blocking in, really. As we think here, we're going to have the dark patches where we go up the nostrils, which will be getting worked on more as this nose develops. Now, as I've said in the past on nose videos, what I always like to start to do is build up the nose. If you think about the human nose, this point here is going to be the highest point of the nose. All the rest of the face has to sink back, and this nose must remain higher. And how we do that is with our shading tones. So let's have a little look for just half an hour today at this. Let's see how far we get. So straight away, what I'm trying to do is, if you think about your own face, if you look at your own nose, and it slides away, doesn't it, down the sides here until it meets into the main face. So that's a good starting point to start pushing back the face. Now what I like to do is, with this spoon shader, is rub away, just gradually building that heat in, because skin tone can be quite delicate. It's not all about high heat, it's skin tone. It's about the very subtle variances in shading. And then if you think about down this side as well, we can just roughly block these in for a minute just to start pushing that face back and making this nose appear like it is sat further forward, which will make sense in a minute, hopefully. And what I like to do when I'm building these bridges, I like to work on the angle that they're going down in. I don't go straight out. I like to put a slight angle in to my shading. So on this side, and again there is another key point here, is where our light is coming from. We could have our light coming in on an angle this way, we could have it coming in on an angle that way, we could have it hitting straight full in the face. But for me, I'm going to have the light just very slightly coming in from this side. So this side is going to be that fraction darker, and that is a quite important thing to think about early on with your artwork, is where is that light coming from, because that will dictate your shading tones. So if my light's coming in 3/4 this way, then this side has to be lighter than the offside, doesn't it? There's less light getting to it. Just stands to reason. There's the darker shadow here. Now this woman's got a very peculiar nose. You wouldn't want to meet her in your bedroom late at night, like on the Conjuring film. I think she'd scare you half to death. So what I'm looking to do is start to build up some shape. Now we think about these are really exaggerated nostrils, but if you think about here, right down these two sides, if you think about your own nose, this is where, you know, there is another like step, isn't it? There's the top of the nose and it steps down a level to the nostril. We don't want to make it too heavy a step. We want to gradually, just gently make that transition from the top of the nose down to this nostril. And there's still a lot of graphite on this as well, because this was a very old piece that had started a good few years ago and never actually touched. You'll see as well, quite often I skip around a lot while I'm creating the nose, because I'm looking to find that shape. So 1 minute I'll be over here, and I'm moving my pen quickly now and not lifting it off the board, so I'm not allowing the heat to build in my pen, so I can just very lightly over time shade the wood very gently to start building some shape. If I lift my pen off for longer, then I'm allowing that heat to build into the pen, and I'm going to get a darker burn stroke. Again, here what I'm looking to do is build that bridge up to show there's, you know, it's going round. Tips of noses always have a very dark ending to them, because it's going off underneath the nose. So as it's curling away down to the philtrum, you know, somewhere down here, we show that it's going off into the darkness where there's less light coming to it. So I'm going to have to blow my nose again. This hay fever's a pain in the bum in the morning. I do apologise. Nothing worse than sitting here listening to me sniffling away. So here again, this is going to be quite a darkened area because it's sitting tucked right in that corner where the top of the nose meets the nostril. And what a funny nose she's got, this woman. Now we're going to be talking in much greater detail about blending when we start the superhero, which I'm going to start filming a little later today. But blending is where we can go from like the darkest shade, and what we must do, we can't just go dark and then nothing. Sometimes we can in some circumstances, but generally we blend out from the very darkest and we just gradually go lighter and lighter until everything just looks smooth. So I may need to turn this board a little bit for this nostril, but we'll have a go. I'll use the side of the pen and see how we go. So I'm just using a very tip edge, because this nostril is on the wrong side for the right hander. Hopefully you can still see me okay on the camera there. I am slowly getting my camera set back right again. I'm going to slightly change this nose because it looks very strange, doesn't it? So I'm wanting to show that like smooth raising up to the higher point of the nose. But I don't want to rush this process. I want to gently blend my way there. Skin tone is all about subtle variances in shade. We'll see if I can do it any justice. I'm jumping off again round the other side and just starting to try and get a feel in my creative mind's eye how this nose would look. I know somewhere around here on this very strange nose is going to be the high point. It's probably going to be around this area. So that area may even be untouched. I may not even burn on it at all, leave it as a total highlight, and as everything else is shaded, this will appear to be sat much higher than everything else. This nostril is an easier one to work on for the right hander, so we might work at this one. So if we think about the bottom of the nostril as it curls up and over, and we're looking to capture that curl. So we're going to gradually, very lightly, I'm just tapping down, start to shade. Sorry, blow my nose yet again. You gradually start to shade to show that there is a raising, that there is some shape to this nostril. The dark patch there does need to go much darker. See how I go? If I go really slow with my pen, I get a much darker burn stroke, which that is called blocking in. When we go much darker like this, just moving a pen ever so slowly, there's certain areas where we can block in. That will be blocked in a lot more yet, but just to start helping me to get a feel and a vision in my mind of how this nose is going to look. I'll just put a few dark patches in, which is a step lower than the nose, to start helping me to see. I think here around the side, you've got a side like sort of wall, haven't you? You know, the side part of the nostril as it branches upwards. So this outside area goes a little darker. You'll have to leave me comments if I'm talking too low in my voice. If you're struggling to hear me, please let me know, and I will look into either getting a microphone clipped on or speak louder. But let's try and find that shape. There's many parts to the pen you can use. These spoon shaders are obviously, as described, they're spoon shaped. There are many parts to the pen you can use. You can use the very tip of the pen, which I quite often do use the tips of my pens more often than not. If I'm wanting to put a large like shading area down, like the bridge of a nose, I will use a lot more of the surface area of the pen, and I will keep the pen on the wood so I don't allow the heat to build up, and I just get that gentle burn stroke that I'm looking for. I don't want it to be super hot at this stage. I want to try and see the artwork evolves, try and find those different tones and shades and steps. Sorry if the camera's shaking as I rub away. And remember, this side is where the light's coming in from. So the shading is going to be lighter over here. As the nose gradually shapes its way, let's put some more definition into the bridge. all these cheeks will all be shaded as well. This is a bit like the wrinkly old lady I did. If you look back through my videos, there's one called The Wrinkly Old Lady, which I really enjoyed doing that. Hopefully I'll get as much enjoyment out of this one. Let's try and blend that out again. As you can see already, we're starting to push areas back, and areas are looking like they're more raised up. So we can create that three-dimensional effect simply by the tones that we shade with. Same as any art form. Whatever canvas they're using, to use different gradients of shading to show different levels. You know, the masterpieces you'll have all seen, from like the Mona Lisa or everything, you know, the shading is so subtle and perfect. That's what gives it that three-dimensional look. You know, it makes it look like it's a real person, like a photograph. Now this is because it's a very old picture. I haven't got the reference photo to hand. I can't be bothered trying to search it out. This is all going to be just made from my own imagination. And just see where it takes me. I have no idea where it's going to go. But I'm willing to go on the journey with it and see what happens. So here we want to very lightly show that it's going from the bottom and it's raising up as a nostril does. So we want to go from dark to a touch lighter. Let me see how long we've been going for on my timer. It's not easy to see because my eyes aren't the greatest anymore. We've been going for 20 some minutes already. Wow, time flies, doesn't it? I generally try not to time lapse these tutorials because they go so quickly that you don't really get to see what's going on. You just see, you know, a hand flying around, and all of a sudden this picture is formed in 30 seconds, a minute. And how are you meant to learn anything off that? So I do apologise if these videos are a bit longer, but I like to try and discuss what it is I'm trying to do. So I'm still looking to build up to that highest point with this nose. So I'm shading darker at the bottom and gradually working lighter and lighter as we get higher up to this middle point. And so the human portrait is one of possibly the hardest to do. But once you start to enjoy the process and experiment with it, you'll find you actually fall in love with doing human portraits. Don't get me wrong, I'm no master human portrait maker. I'm very much a student, just like yourselves. I just trial and error, use my own creative mind and see what develops. That's why I use the burn low and slow technique. I don't overcommit myself to anything early, because if I burn too dark and I do something wrong, then I'm in a world of trouble. Whereas if I'm working lighter like this and gradually building my way, seeping that heat into the wood, I've got more control over what I'm doing. There's less chance of me making a mistake. Still will make mistakes, but they won't be as glaring as if I had my heat turned up to say 4.5, 5, which would be way too high for me. Most pyrographers who are creating human portraits are working around it like with this size of pen, around a 3 level, medium heat. We don't want the pen too hot because we want to add these very subtle shade variances. Now in here is going to be the dark point as that nostril. It's almost like an arrow that goes in there where it's going to be at its darkest. Same with this side. This side will be a shade darker than that side because my light is coming in this way. But that will all be done in a much later stage. And I could spend, to do a nose, a good half a day, working away, trying to capture that perfect shade tone. You know, it's not something I rush. I don't rush my pyrography art. I tend to enjoy it. Push myself to see what I can do. As I always say to people in my Facebook group, there are no prizes for finishing quickest. It's about the final result. And quite often you can tell which ones have really spent the time to search out those tones against those who have burned quickly because they want instant gratification, which a lot of us do, don't we? Don't get me wrong, I would love to just spend an hour on this and create a masterpiece. But for me, I know it's not going to happen. So I can't have that instant gratification. But I can also enjoy the process as it evolves. may go on longer than half an hour here because I'm quite enjoying myself. But you'll see I'm just dabbing around here and there, looking to build up a shape. Want to show that gradual lift. So I'm starting at the very base of the lift and pulling my stroke on a slight angle to show that curvature. I'm so sorry about this sniffling. Just bear with me a second again. I need to buy some more hay fever tablets. I've run out. So I'm now looking to blend from that high point that will, gradually drop down to the nostril. Again, very subtly, not don't hit it hard, just gradually, softly find that perfect tone, that perfect shade is what you're looking for. That will give a smooth transition. And remember, if you leave the pen off the wood for a period of time, like I just did then, for maybe like 20 seconds, the first touchdown, that heat has built back up into the pen. If you're working at high heats, you can get the dreaded, what we call the blob. You'll know the blob when you see it. If you don't know what the blob is already, at some point in your pyrography journey, you will experience the blob. So often if you leave your pen off, let's say, as I'm leaving it off here now, I don't want to touch any of these gentle shading areas. I'm going to start off by taking some of the heat out of the pen on an area that I know has to go darker, and then that sucks the heat out of the pen and I can resume my gentle gradual shading. I think I picked this picture because I did love the Conjuring films. And if you have seen it, she's the nun, isn't she, that goes after, what do you call it, Lorraine Warren. Meant to be based on true stories. Whether you're a believer or not is totally up to you. See, this is the side for the right hander where you have trouble, because you want to be going up in this direction, as I could here so easily. You know, I can make that step over this side. My pen, any excess heat that I'm getting is dropping below where I want it to be. See here, any what I like to call heat bleed, which you're going to get a little bit of excess heat coming into the wood from the pen. It's touching down into the right side for me. It's gently building a little shade tone inside where I want to be, whereas this side, any heat bleed is coming outside of the nose where I don't want it to be. So oftentimes I will switch the board upside down so I can get at it from the right side. That's a skill you'll acquire in time. It's working upside down. To start with, it'll seem very alien to you, and you won't be able to see quite as easily what you're doing, but within time you will get used to it. Let's try and smooth into this nostril. Try and show there is a shape to it. Here's going to be quite a hard line on the edge in the darkest recess down here as we go up into the higher bridge of this funny shaped nose. All the while, every now and again, shade out some more of the cheeks of this, you know, down the sides of the bridge of the nose, going into the cheeks of the face, so you can start seeing that mental picture form in your mind's eye. We know here under the flaps of the nostrils there's going to be less light again, so usually we depict that by doing a dark edging. I'm using pretty much the tip of the pen at this point. This side I'm rubbing away quickly with more of the surface of the pen, just trying to gradually build the tone up. I'll work for a minute with my mouth shut now anyway. I've been rambling on, haven't I, for 20 minutes, so let's just work for a few minutes without me talking and let's see where we get. as you get more proficient with your pens, you will be able to use different angles of the pen very quickly. I know there on that area it might have looked like what was he doing, but I was using different areas of the pen to get the right angle. That's just from practice. Have you still got me on the camera? Okay, yeah. Sometimes you can just either increase or lower the heat on your pen, on your unit. I usually generally try to find a medium heat that I know I'm in control of, and so I don't need to keep changing the heat setting of my pen. I know if I work quicker, I basically get hardly any shade, and if I slow right down, I can go much darker. So this one setting for me can do it, everything I need it to do, just by the speed of how I use my pen. But you can see how you can get carried away with what you're doing. This was going to be a 20-minute video, and God knows how long we've been going now. I can't see on the film. 40 some minutes. We're going to go for an hour. So at 8 AM I'm going to call that time. And if you would like me to continue with noses, leave me a comment and I will carry on filming the process of this nose. Otherwise I will just work away happily on my own. And we're always looking for those, the darker points are going to be set further down, and as it goes lighter it makes the effect of it raising up. That's the secret. So I hope that is one thing you may take away from today's ramblings. This area where this arrow is I will generally get a space shader in there. It works much better with a space shader. You can get really tight in then. The spoon shader is great for adding that subtlety of shade. Camera rocks, doesn't it, when I do this side quickly? Camera shakes. I don't know what that bit of transfer line was there, but it's not going to be used. All I'm doing at the moment is just adding a light area around the nose to give myself more visual cues to find that perfect shade. I'm just working around the edge of the nose, just putting a very gentle tone in. Just putting down a base layer of skin tone around my nose. So now I'm going to be shading these areas, so I'm just going to put a light tone in at the minute to help me. Try and work a bit slower on this side so that the camera doesn't rock. This face has got some wonderful features to it. I hope I can do it justice. Now there'll be a point on the bridge where you will have like a darkened line, but that line will be blended upwards to show more curvature of the bridge, because unless they've been a boxer, the bridge of the nose isn't flat. It's still got that shape. It's still raising up. I've left my pen for a second, so I'll go to a dark spot. This time I want to show the bridge coming over. I don't want to go straight across, otherwise it's going to create that effect of it being flat. So I'm going to angle my shading. This is where it gets a lot more subtle as you go onto the bridge. You want to keep that pen moving and just gently shade that wood. Right down where I put this line, I want to blend a darker area where it falls away. We'll be doing the same on the other side when I can switch the board round. I think I may have done a nose tutorial in the past, in my earlier days of my pyrography teachings. Obviously I have progressed since then, just as we all do with practice. There's a stat that I like to quote, and it was a documentary I watched. It was some on Netflix. It was about sporting greats. So let me blow my nose again. And what it said was to class yourself as a professional or a master or an expert at something, you need a minimum of 10,000 hours of doing whatever it is that you're passionate about. You know, these tennis players, footballers, whatever. 10,000 hours they've worked out is this sort of benchmark for the true greats. So start counting your hours. When you get to 10,000, you can call yourself a master. have no idea how many hours I've done because I've never counted. Done quite a lot, but I couldn't tell you if there's 10,000 or anywhere near that. I don't know. Been wood burning for 4 to 5 years. There was a spell where I would burn 7 days a week, 9 or 10 hours a day. I just fell in love with this art form, and I just think it's a beautiful art form. Like any art form, there's so much individual creativity in there that goes into it, and you can just get lost in what you're doing. That is the beauty of art. We've become very mindful. We're just in the moment, aren't we? It's just us, our creative mind, our pen of choice, you know, whatever medium we're using, and the world just disappears. And we get totally lost into what we're doing. Right, that is 8 o'clock, guys. I will end the session because I know I've been rambling on for far too long and probably bored you all to tears. But that is a start of how to build a nose. If you would like me to do more tutorials on the nose, please leave me a comment and I will talk in greater depth about how we carry on the nose and the face and all these other areas around the nose. So take care, guys. Happy pyroing. Enjoy your art. I look forward to seeing many of your creations in the Facebook group, and all have a great day. Okay, take care for now, guys. Thank you for watching. Much love to all. Bye for now.